Okay, well, hey, I appreciate everybody tuning in and being a part of this call. I'm Adam Gordon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Rising Coaches. And before we get started, I just want to say a few things because this is our first episode of this show, and we're super excited about it. Um,
No.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, well, hey,
we
I appreciate
started.
everybody tuning in and being part
Hold
of
on.
this call. I'm Adam Gordon. I'm the
Okay, cool. Sorry, wouldn't be the first show without a little technical difficulty. So, anyways, yeah, so we started Rising Coaches back in 2010. I coached for 15 years, and when we were first getting started, it was just clear that it was a relationship business, and we didn't know anybody, and we just wanted to create a platform where people could connect and build genuine relationships with each other. And the thought was that, we can all rise up through the profession together, hence the name Rising Coaches. Um, and so it's really grown and grown over the years. And because myself and our other co-founder both coached on the men's side, we saw tremendous growth pretty quickly in men's basketball. Our bread and butter certainly being college basketball, but have spread to the high school and to the NBA levels. Um, and the one area that we didn't, have tremendous growth in was on the women's side. And I stepped away from coaching last year to do this full time. And one of my main priorities after going full time and really being able to put time and resources into growing our brand and our business was to cross over and have more involvement in women's basketball. Um, so when Ashton and Aaron, came to me with the idea of putting something like this together, I was so excited. We had big plans to do things at New Orleans at the women's Final Four. Obviously, we had to cancel all of that due to coronavirus. So this to me was a no-brainer opportunity to, continue to try to provide the same stuff that we're providing on the men's side, but on the women's side as well, because I think it's, it applies to everything. And those things that we try to, provide, we talk about them all the time. There's three things: community, relationships, and development. So community, obviously, this is a hard business. Anything in athletics, there's no clear cut path. Um, and it's a relationship business, and you got to know someone who knows someone to get involved with jobs. And there's a lot of ups and downs and sacrifices that go with it. And so if you don't have that support system and you don't have that community to fall back on, it can be really, really challenging at times. The relationship piece, which goes hand in hand with that, is like I touched on earlier. We're all about trying to help people and give people opportunities to build genuine relationships. And then the development, obviously, when we have opportunities to get, great guests like we have today and speakers come in, you're always adding to your toolbox and continuing to grow and develop as a coach or a professional or whatever it is that you do, a leader, which is basically what we all aspire to be and are. Um, so, anyways, I'm gonna not ramble on for too much longer, but I will say that we have put together a year-round membership that we're really, really proud of. We launched it in October, so it's been just about 6 months now. And if you want any more information, you can visit our website at another time, risingcoaches.com. And we just try to provide those three things year round. We try to provide a community for coaches. We try to help our coaches connect and build genuine relationships with other people in the industry. Uh, and we try to give them tools and resources so that they can continue to develop and grow their skill set. So that's what we're about. I wanted to make sure I said that at the beginning because I do think it's important. We want everything that we do to be in line with our goals and our mission. And I couldn't be more proud to have this show and to have Ashton Pills and Aaron Sinnott leading it off. So I'm going to hand it over to them. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to mute my mic and take some notes.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, my name is Ashton Pills, and I'm a current sophomore manager at the University of Kansas for the men's basketball team. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you, Adam, just for giving us a platform to kind of raise the awareness and raise the narrative for women in sport. kind of my journey. I got to play 2 years at the NAI level, and then decided to retire from college hoops to kind of follow my dreams of being a college coach, and I became a student manager. And yeah, this is just kind of a great way to connect and make genuine relationships, like Adam said. And today, I'm really glad I get to do kind of someone that aligns with my passion is Erin Sinnott. So take it away, Erin.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining. This is a great opportunity and something we're super excited about. And we have some pretty awesome guests that I'm excited to introduce and get you listening to them. So a little bit about me. I am from a suburb of Chicago. My high school coach is on here. Super cool. A lot of my coaches are showing out. I played basketball at the University of Evansville for a couple years, and then I actually transferred to Damon College, where I got to finish and had a great experience there, playing at the Division II level. I then became a graduate assistant at Southern Illinois in the marketing department. So I'm doing a lot of communications and definitely seeing a lot of the support side that I did not see as an athlete, that I'm super thankful about. But yeah, so we are just super excited about this panel, and I'm now going to have Aisha kick it off, and she can tell us a little bit about herself.
Hey everybody, my name is Aisha Foy. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I've been playing basketball all my life. I'm gonna go ahead and say my title. I'm currently the director of recruiting at the University of Kentucky. And to just tell you guys a little bit how I got there, just a real brief. I started off as a graduate assistant at Southeast Missouri State, and they just won OVC championship. Shout out to them. And you know, the reason why I am so comfortable in being at a Power 5 school and, you know, being the first director of recruiting is because of my experience as a graduate assistant. Like I just said, Southeast Missouri State won a championship, so I got the opportunity to work for a championship coach my first time. Not only a championship coach, but a Black woman. And you know, I'm Black, I'm female, we're a minority, so I got to see what it was like to operate on a championship level, regardless of Power 5 school or not Power 5 school. I believe that, you know, the championship is a mindset, and you know, it is an individual pursuit. You know, so basically, as a graduate assistant, I got to put my hands in a lot of different avenues, and one thing I really enjoyed was recruiting. You know, I love, you know, picking the recruits up. I love, you know, setting up the hotel rooms. I love just doing all that type of stuff. So that helped me get really clear on the direction that I wanted to go in. So that's one part that's really important, getting clear. I'm just gonna be really brief, not going into too much detail right now, but basically, I knew that I wanted to be, I knew I fell in love with recruiting and people and coaching when I was young. So I used my experience as a student athlete to prepare for that. So I was really involved with making sure my resume was good, making sure I was volunteering with leadership and things like that. That's kind of like, at the end of the day, my bread and butter is leadership. So throughout my career, what I want to do, I'm just following a leadership path, and where it leads me is where it leads me. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'll pass it over to somebody else.
Yeah, Coach Jenny, do you want to go ahead? Thanks, Coach Aisha.
Oh, I get to be called coach, me?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's a
We
coach.
decided.
I was a coach in like the most minimal capacity ever, but I think obviously I'm the one different one, as I am not currently a college coach, but I am very connected to the women's collegiate basketball sphere, and I went to Marquette University, grew up just absolutely idolizing that place because both my mom and dad played college basketball at Marquette. So I think that ties in really interestingly into my story, but I was not a college basketball player. I had a couple D2 and D3 offers, kind of really knew I wanted to go to Marquette with all the ties, and I was super into the storytelling, connecting part of everything. And so I didn't know how that would translate, or if I would be able to play a sport and get experience in that at the same time. Now I think it's a lot better. But for me, I chose the path of going to Marquette, and I worked super closely with our men's and women's basketball teams there from the athletics side. Ran the Twitter for our Marquette men's basketball team, which was really fun considering Marcus Howard was just very fun to cover. And then with our women's team, I traveled with them a couple times and was just able to cover them in a lot of different capacities, especially because they had a really young team. And then they ended up having 5 starters who all had 1,000 or more points upon graduation that I had gone through all 4 years with. So just a lot of cool basketball that I was able to be around, have been super passionate about the sport for a very long time. Still try to get around and shoot and play and be around the game as much as possible, but currently have spent the last year at the NCAA, most closely with women's basketball, and doing all things digital, social. I think the most visible is a lot of interviews with players and coaches. And we also set out on the inaugural NCAA women's basketball road trip, which was 16 schools in 22 days, which was wild. We based it off of top 25 teams from the year before, just to kind of get the first one rolling. Knew we would have plenty to talk about. And it was like, I peaked. That was like one of the best experiences ever. You just get to see how different programs function, meet some of the top players and coaches and D1s. So it was a really great experience. And I'm just grateful that I get to tell stories and connect with these student athletes and these coaches in a way to elevate the biggest moments in their, collegiate careers and coaching careers.
Awesome. And then Coach LaSasha.
Hello, everyone. So my name is LaSasha Conley, and I am originally from Morganton, North Carolina. I'm born and raised. I went to college in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at Salem College. I am currently an assistant coach at Maine Maritime Academy. And so I'll kind of talk about the piece of how I got from North Carolina to Maine, because that usually is the topic of discussion when people meet me, is how I made it all the way to Maine. So ironically, I played against my head coach now. We did not know that at all until I got to campus, but my freshman year, I was playing in a tournament at Peace College, which is Peace University now, I guess, in Raleigh. And he had brought a team down to play in the tournament as well. Maine Maritime did win against Salem, but it was pretty cool to know that, like, how small the world really is. And that's one thing that I've learned in my process of growing as a coach in this industry, is really how small the world is and how connected you really are to people. It's how I'm on this panel right now, and I'm very, very grateful for it. But so I played in college. I took a couple years and coached high school. While I was doing that, I was actually using my degree a little bit for physical therapy. I knew I wanted to give back to the game. The biggest impact for me that solidified that I really wanted to be a college coach was my college coach. My junior year, she came in, and that was the first time I had a female coach in all of my years of playing basketball. And that was the first time I had an African-American coach. So not only did for me, I felt like I hit the jackpot. So her demeanor, her presence, how she carried herself. She's currently the head coach at Georgia Southern University, Coach Anita Howard. And everything about her was what I wish I had at a younger age, but I didn't get until I was in college. So I really wanted to be that example and hopefully set a path for others to realize that someone like them can be a head coach, can be successful. The paths may be different, but if this is where you want to be, this is, you can make that path and get there for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So basically what our kind of like our heart in the whole women in sports episode, what Ashton and I are really, we really want to talk about the narrative of women in sport, and we want to hit on advancing the narrative in women in sport for our audience to see better and understand firsthand the opportunities there are for women to be successful in this industry, even just from your guys' intros, just the storytelling that like Jenny's able to create is something that Coach Foy is selling to people. She's recruiting these players that is going to be her story, or that is going to be their story, and being able to see people like you doing that. So I just want to swing it back over to Jenny and just kind of ask you, how do you see your story, or like what is your intention going into interviewing, and kind of what's happening in the marketing and media aspect of the women's game and like the women's side, and even just being a woman in that industry?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is everyone knows that there's so much room for growth. And I'm kind of sick of everyone saying there's a lot of room for growth when we can actually make that growth. The fact that like we have all the tools to be able to tell these stories and to be able to elevate them, brands, especially the student athletes brand, obviously a hot topic with NIL stuff passing and all of that. It just shows that it's all going to be the most important that it's ever been in the history of storytelling, if you ask me. And I think for me, whenever I'm telling a story, I really approach it as you can tell stories, you know, across a bunch of different mediums in a lot of different ways. My big three things are they have to be clear, concise, and creative, no matter what you're doing. And another big thing that's like my MO is like, my story that I am telling, like, let's say I'm sitting down with a basketball player from Kentucky women's basketball, which shout out Aisha also, because I had to interview Ryan Howard and she threw me the lob by telling me that Ryan knows how to draw. So, and it made for like one of the best, you know, interviews that we did because it got her personality out more. But this is all to bring it back to say, I want the story to be carried by the person who made it what it was. I want the story to like have been done justice by that person, because it was who they are. And that's another big theme in terms of what student athletes really care about now. It's who they are off the court too. It's not just their stats. And that's something else I've learned. And maybe some people view that as a softer side, but like, if I'm interviewing a women's basketball player and I'm like, yeah, you had 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds, how'd that feel? Like they care a little bit, but at the same time, if it's a player that you really want in your program, they're going to say, I care about winning and things like that, and brush it off of themselves and be humble. But they care more about like, my family was there to see it. So I'll ask about the moment, not the milestone, or little things like that, where you're just trying to, you know, get the person out of it, because there's a person behind that stat line and they want to, you know, they care about the moment, not the milestone, is the way I view it. So especially being a woman in this industry, I think it's just an automatic connector. I love that I get to cover the women's game, because I think there are a lot of aspects that you don't necessarily get in the men's game that you do in women's, especially the whole student athlete. They care about the student athlete experience. They care about school. Not to say that men don't in any way, but I just think that they have a really holistic view of their student athlete experience, and that just enriches their stories and what they're setting out to do, because I mean, they're all such multifaceted, multi-talented individuals, which I think of all of you too. So it's just like a reoccurring theme here that, you know, their stories do matter, but it's time to not just, you know, say that they matter. It's time to tell them and continue to tell them, and not just say, yeah, look at what we could do. It's like, no, let's put the WNBA draft on ESPN. It's not like, yeah, that's so great, we could. So that's what hypes me up and gets me going about it, is doing these stories justice and making them feel heard.
Definitely. I loved that. And then to, if LaSasha, you could hit on just like your experience with advancing women in D3 hoops, as well as your other roles outside of like you being more than a coach and you having those opportunities.
Sweet, yeah. So I did mention I am an assistant women's basketball coach, but I also have a couple other duties on campus where I do admissions work, which is kind of helping to recruit student athletes as well, and student body. But I also get to dabble a little bit into kind of like we have this thing called One Team on campus, and it's our women athletes, student athletes, and it's kind of like an empowering group there. And I got to work with them one of the seniors this year and work on really touching base with some of the students in our communities and working on like empowering young athletes, letting them know they're, empowering them at a young age through sports. It's okay to be quicker than the guys. It's okay to stand out, just being the best version of themselves. So doing that has allowed me to really take a bigger grasp with our student athletes to just realize that they're more than just a basketball or they're more than just a jersey, and really being there for them. In the administrative world, which is something that I did not know of when I was an athlete. I just thought you played basketball, you coached, and then you kind of went home. So seeing the other side of that and seeing everything that goes into that has really just has driven me to just want to be the best version I can be so that I can give the best experience to the student athletes, whether that's making sure we're in good hotels with food on the coaching side, being proactive in the operational side of things, but also just making sure that I can be a voice for them, be a listening ear for them, empowering them, letting them know that they are great at what they do. That shot may not have fallen, but you just got an A on a test, or you didn't get that stop. That was a big defensive stop and you didn't get it, but that's okay because we have a test to study for tomorrow and we got to be better in the class, just as good in the classroom. So my duties overlap kind of with the administrative and the coaching side of things. I still get to work with student athletes, which is something that I truly love, and help with that development of student athletes, letting them know their voice is more than just the soccer ball or the football or that basketball, but it also allows me to really empower our own girls of being strong, independent females fighting for what they want. Hopefully that answered your question, sorry.
It did, that was fantastic.
Okay.
Coach Aisha, so, your turn. How do you see the industry advancing for women? And just kind of going further into that, can you tell us more about your work with building your brand and the different ways you use social media to kind of engage with your recruits outside, that outside presence that isn't just coaching?
So I'm gonna clear up my position. So my position is pretty unique. Before I got hired as a director of recruiting, there wasn't a director of recruiting in women's basketball. So a lot of people confuse me as the recruiting coordinator, but I am on the support staff. So I support the coaches in their recruiting efforts. And what's unique about that is, as Jenny was talking about storytelling, I got the opportunity to come in and kind of help our coaches use social media to let people know kind of how our program was. And if you come to Big Blue Nation, it is I call it basketball heaven. But we're here and we're enjoying all this, but they don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? So kind of how my position is, I kind of help build our brand in a sense. And I do that by I try and be a voice for the players. I try to give off the experience. I want to showcase the experience that you can have here. So like she was talking about with advancing, what I like to do, my approach coming in my first year was to start a blog. And pretty much what I did, I just gave our players the camera and they went with it. They took it in the locker room, they took it wherever, and we showcased their personalities. And it could be the smallest thing and it would be so impactful because people could see their personalities. Unfortunately, it is the truth that, people aren't just going to come to a women's basketball game because they want to see dunks. They want to see, the things that you get from at a men's basketball game and a women's basketball is a completely different, entertainment type thing, right? So people, they're coming to the game because they want to see us play. Of course, we're good basketball players, but what might get more people to the game is they seen that one of our players was Macy Morris, and she had a video, and she loved Wendy's 4 for 4, and she said it on a vlog, and it was like the funniest thing ever. And people might come because they like her and she's funny, or they vibe with Ryan, or they vibe with Jada, these are our players, and they're really cool. They see our personality. So Showcasing who you are, and as an athlete, as a professional, as whoever, showcasing who you are. And that's all what it comes to building a brand anyway, is showcasing who you are, building trust, letting people feel like, they know you, even though they might never see you in person. So I hope that answered your question. What was the first part of your question? I know I answered the second part of your question.
The first part was just talking about how we were going to advance the narrative of women in sport.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I pretty much answered
Yes,
it.
you did. You did it very well. Very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. We're gonna jump back to Jenny. You guys are like flawlessly kind of like intertwining each other. It's great. But just kind of with that, like to be able to advance that narrative, like what Aisha was saying, she wants to show everyone that these girls are funny, and the word holistic keeps sticking with me about like they're so much more than just the game. The game is fun. It is advancing itself, but just women in general, like there's much more to them than what's on the court. But what kind of approach do you bring with creating your media? Do you have to have a different kind of standard, I guess, if you are making like a broadcast for a women's game or a men's game? And just kind of like speak on that and how you've kind of used that into the NCAA women's media and like your time at the NCAA this past year.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is I approach them both the same, but there are tweaks that you obviously have to make because they are different games in some aspects, even though in a lot of ways, they are identical. But I think the off the court aspect, especially in like the stories that you can find, like this makes me think about when I was at Marquette, Carolyn Keeger was the only female head coach in the Big East out of all 10 schools. And like, for me, I was like, that's a narrative that like people know about. And like, maybe she'll get one question about at like a media day, but I was like, okay, how do we make this known that like, that's kind of wild. And the fact that, and we can talk about female athletic directors and all of that, but like making those stories more known, attaching data to them, like our women's basketball road trip, you can be like, yeah, that was really cool. But then you take a step back and you're like, we just generated 6.3 million impressions for our NCAA WBV account. And that's something that the men didn't have. And it's something that I wonder if they could have done. Like, yes, logistically could have, but how interested would people have been? Things like that, where it's the intangibles of like, I just think it suits the women's game and its brand and what the people surrounded around that game really care about. But yeah, and when I was at Marquette, like something that I also felt like I approached differently between men's and women's coverage was like a moment that sticks out is like, let's say Alizea Blockton was a player that went off when I was there. She was Marquette's first 2,000 point scorer, male or female. And when that happened, we blew up that moment. And it like obviously got athletics involved, local media, all that good stuff. And it was great. But then like 2 nights later, Marcus Howard drops a 45 piece on K-State and he's sitting outside the locker room, like slumped. And I was like, this is the picture people need to see, that like he is exhausted after dropping 45 points on this team. And so I take a picture of him and put it on social media, and it does like 10 times better than Alizea Blockton's record did. And it's like, do I wish it was that way? Not at all. But at the same time, it's just like, men's has been so established, and like I kind of hate to compare the two because like I said, like they're just so different, and I feel like we said the room for growth and everything, but like figuring out also that like posting more does not mean more impressions and more engagements and more things, attaching people to women's basketball. It's finding stories that resonate with people and connect with people and getting them to want to follow a brand and like, find out more about a story. I always use the Tiana Mangakahia piece as an example of like, that was a story about a girl on a break from basketball. And like now at this point, everyone's had to take a break from something they love with this whole COVID-19 situation, but like who like can't connect with having to take a break from something you love, whether for injury or for transfer or whatever illness. It's like, you just find those connectors, you paint them in that way, you find the center of the story, what that person cares about. And that's kind of what I let carry me. So hopefully that answered your question.
That was great. Bouncing back to Coach Aisha, you just alluded to Big Blue Nation as basketball heaven. Can you just talk about some ways that Kentucky women's basketball really sets themselves apart from other programs in the nation?
I would say the university itself is amazing. The way it supports the athletic program, it starts with the university. But our program specifically, I would say the people in our program, our staff, when I go into the office, I'm like, I can't believe this is a staff. Like every last one of our assistant coaches could easily be head coaches. Their knowledge, the way they work together, is just like, wow, this is who will be leading these players that will come in. And then so it's pretty much a family. Coach Mitchell, he's really goofy. He loves to have fun. And our program reflects that. You can go on our social media page and you will see the first post you will see is us having fun before shoot around. So I would say just that family environment, people wanting to help each other, that blue collar mentality. A lot of people think of Kentucky basketball like, or Kentucky athletics in general, be like, oh dang, they're a big time school. They got a lot of money. But Kentucky has the mentality, we work, you know what I'm saying? And the reason why the money is good or, is because of the people taking care of it. Our leadership take care of it, make smart decisions. It's not just like, oh, we got it all just because. It's the work that gets put into it, and it really shows that hard work pays off. I would say that to describe it, you really will see the fruits of your labor at Kentucky. I feel like it represents that.
Definitely. Yeah. And then even just going to Coach Conley with that kind of same platform, I think it can be kind of a misconception that through the divisions, people, they either like, oh, you're a D3 athlete because you don't work as hard as a D1, or even like D2, like, oh, you probably had D1 potential, but decided to settle and play D2 and you wanted the best of both worlds. Even just with not having the same platform as UK, but how do you as like a coaching staff and you as being able to impact your players and having players that work just as hard? And I think if you play a college sport, you're working hard and you love the game, but how does that kind of change with having D3 players and being on that level?
Wow. Okay. So I would say first, our program, I think, just stands out above a lot of programs, especially at our level. Our coach and staff, we're all present all day, every day in the office. Like the foundation of our program is our family piece. And we recruit families. It's not just the students that we're recruiting. When we go on the games, we want to see your parents. We want to know how they're doing. Just how involved we are with our players, letting them know, like, as a family, we're going to take care of the basketball side of things, but we're also here to develop you as a player, as a person as well. And we're trying to get you to be the best version that you can be within those 4 years that you're with us. So that family piece is something that just overtakes a majority of what our program is about. When it comes to the different levels, I think you hit the nail on it. Like, D3 athletes still work hard. D3 athletes are still putting in the work. They still have the 6 a.m.s. They still have the 2-a-days for some. Like, it may not be as detailed or structured for and mandated, I should say, as the other levels, but there still are student athletes putting in the work to be great, to have a great and successful collegiate career. So that is something that gets blown in the wind where somebody's like, oh, you settled, or oh, you don't have any scholarships, and make people think less of where they're going. But it really is about finding the right fit and finding a fit that's for you. And that's something we talk to recruits about. We're a small school on the coast of Maine, and our majors are very specific with the maritime industry. So that already right there, if you're not looking into those majors or things like that, then it's going to be kind of hard. This may not be a fit for you, which is fine. But where's the best fit for you? So I think our program really tries to look for the best future for the student athletes and being there as a resource to help them along the way. And the fact that we can win a lot of games in between makes it better, makes it a little bit more fun. But I think the family aspect is really what encompasses our program and really what separates us apart. My head coach, he's been here for 20 years, 19, I guess I should say officially. And like his wife is an assistant coach, like the dogs at practice, like it's very, very intertwined. And I know we can do that at our level with our practices and things like that. So it's not, I don't know. I just think it's really different, but it's different in a good way, because for me, it's the same values that I hold true to myself with being a family person, just really being there for people and being in a supportive community. And this is definitely something that I've experienced and something that I know that I can get at the D3 level.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that your answer kind of brought up to kind of tie in like the social media aspect of it all. With Jenny, this is kind of still catered towards Coach Conley, but do you think like media, and you guys can like piggyback off each other, do you think media has the ability to be able to show like for social media to show that like you have like the playing abilities, and we can post videos and make the narrative known that like NAIA Division 1, 2, 3, they all can play and they all can have like everyone has gear today, everyone has different things. Like is there a way to really do that for having access to be able to kind of have insight into different programs?
Coach, I'll have you go first.
I would say yes, from the standpoint of like social media side of things. I think everybody realizes social media is in. If you want your school to be known, if you want somebody to find out about your program, about your, find out more about anything that encompasses your program, your coaching staff, your players, social media is where it's at. So I think having programs there are programs who don't have a social media presence, but I think having that presence, getting your program's name out, and starting from there, I think that's something that can be done at no matter what level. Somebody may not know where Maine Maritime Academy is. You do now because I'm on this call, but having a strong social media presence, you could find me in the Explore page, maybe our basketball Instagram, and there it goes, so that can draw more attention to what we're doing at our level. Seeing how successful we are. So I think there's paths to have it. It's just, I don't know exactly how that all encompasses together and, gets the D3 really showcased as it does as much as D1 and D2, but I think it's something that can be doable per institution. They definitely can do that on their own through their own social media accounts.
Yeah, a perspective that I'll piggyback off of for that is my older brother had Division 1 full ride offers, and he chose the D3 route. He wanted to stay close to home, and he ended up winning a national championship with UW Whitewater. Absolutely loved it, had the time of his life. And for me, I'm like, wow, like, I don't think people always realize that, a division doesn't mean much when you're just trying to play the game of basketball.
Exactly.
And I wish I kind of would have had that mindset more, but like I said, I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't think basketball was like playing the game itself was like going to get me where my talents aligned. So, but I just think, Twitter's free, but how you use it is what sets you apart. Especially like that's how these programs that maybe people haven't heard of, that's one way. A lot of things I see people do when they're trying to build like a following or a brand is like those hashtag blocks in their Instagram captions and things like that, like hashtag basketball, hashtag women's basketball. And like, it looks silly, but it works. People see your stuff, it gets you free eyes on your page. But like I said, social media, that's the glory of it. But at the same time, Are you using it in ways that's going to showcase your program and the student athletes that you have? That's kind of up to, you know, the way that you approach those stories and wind up producing them and publishing them.
I wanted to chime in on that as well. And so the same approach that I had when I was a graduate assistant at SEMO is the same approach I got at Kentucky. Like nothing has changed. I'm just showcasing the players, wanting to know who you are. I feel like a lot of this comes down to branding, all that just comes down to who are you. And I think about, you know, men's sports, and I was in charge of the practice team, and I just see how they're just in love with the players or the athletes. They're just in love with them. And I'm like, man, like, it's not, you know, they fight over who's better, but they are like fans of those people. So I think if we do, women, if we do a good job at showcasing who we are, I feel like sometimes we're so afraid to show who we are. And, you know, that starts with self-awareness and, you know, knowing why you exist and why you do what you do. Once you do that and you can showcase that, you know, you can do it through your game, you can do it through anything. But when people know that and they can resonate that with you, now you go from having like a basketball fan or, you know, supporter to actual fan or people that want to support you because they resonate with who you are. I think, you know, everybody has a story and anybody can get recognized by when they share their story. You know, that's all the big companies do. Apple, Nike, all they did was share their story. And that's how they got the way they are. So
I like what you said about, like, you know, the women's aspect. I just interviewed a coach the other day, and like off the record, they were like, remember when like women's coaches was kind of like okay, we're here. Like now we got to sit back and kind of like, yep, like we're glad we're here. And now it's like, no, like look at Muffet, who just stepped down, I should say, because that was the technical wording. So maybe we don't know how she's going to resurface, but I have a feeling something's going to happen. But like, look at what she did for the game. And it wasn't like, let me sit back. It was like here's my story, here's who I am. And like, you can either get with it or get out. So, and it worked. Like the genuity and like leading with that kind of a grace, I feel like is a great way to get people to know who you are and buy into that.
Yeah, I think even too, going off of Coach Foy, what you said with basically just you see the guys, the way that they interact, like they know who they are and they see themselves in like mentors or older people or whatever. I think that kind of resonated with me because it took me a while to, I think, feel like empowered and comfortable and seeing a future in athletics when I started seeing more women. And I started to get, I tell people this all the time, especially I have a bunch of coaches on here right now that coached me, but I didn't see a female head coach until my last 2 years of playing basketball. And I played basketball my whole life. I think it was the male coaches I had definitely impacted my life and they were amazing people. But I think it wasn't until I saw myself and saw another woman that had been done everything for her family and like had coached and then went to the high school level and done those things that it helped me to be able to do that. And I think as time goes on, that is definitely something that will be like girls are starting to become more sure of themselves because we're telling them that they can be like this and that they're allowed to be like this. And I think that's something that's super big and definitely like get that's like what you guys are doing for the industry and things like that. So that was just kind of something that hit me when you said that. But Ashton, do you want to hop over to some of the questions we have?
Yeah, so we're going to start taking questions from viewers. Fantastic responses so far. Thanks, guys. Adam had a question for Coach Foy. You're talking a lot about self-awareness, knowing who you're about, storytelling. How do you help your young women on your team figure out who they are?
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm super active in doing that at the moment, because my role, I don't interact with them a whole lot. But you know, if I was to have a one-on-one sit down with them, the few times I would, you know, you ask them questions, like you challenge them, you ask them questions. But it starts with you. Like if you are self-aware as the leader, as the professional, then they look at you and they say, okay. So I actually do have an answer to your question. So the way you help them is by you being self-aware and you walking in your confidence and you having the presence. And when you do that, that's an example for them. Like I was saying with the male athletes, right? So they talk about these professional athletes like they know them because they feel like they know them because of how they carry themselves. So I think it starts with yourself, and the way you can become more self-aware with yourself, you just got to sit down and ask yourself the question. You got to have conversations with yourself. You know, nobody can do that for you. Like, I mean, you can read a book. I've read a bunch of books to help me with that, but it literally has to be something that you just ask yourself, well, why? Why do I do this? Why do I feel this way about something? You know, don't try and suppress your feelings. Don't try and suppress yourself. Yeah, you got to behave a certain way at some times, but you know, if you feel some type of way about something, like when you sit down by yourself, ask yourself, why do I feel like that? What's my favorite color? Why do I even like that color? You know, just little questions about yourself. Like really sit down, do the homework, and get to know yourself, and then you model it.
So this just makes me think of Coach Carter and the quote from it that's like, "You're playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you." Like that whole thing, which like I just watched that movie the other day. So I was like, dang, this is what it's making me thinking of. I'm sorry for the reference, but like, I just think you have a really good point about, you know, that's how you help these young women figure out who they are, is you be authentically yourself.
Coach Connolly, do you want to add anything to that also? Would love to get your perspective.
Sorry, didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, honestly, that was the truth. Honestly, walking in your truth, I think, and allowing who you are and you being confident in who you are, allowing the girls to see that and see that as somebody they can look up to. I think that is kind of how you start that process. And just knowing, like, you know, being honest, having those honest conversations, like, yeah, I might have messed up today, but I will be better. You know what I mean? Or I didn't do this like I thought I was going to, but because some people think they have these pedestals that they put people on and they're like, oh, they did this, they did that, they're there, they make no mistakes. That's what I need to be, this perfect image. But just be honest, like, no, I messed up today. I really did. I messed up. It's cool, but you know what? I'm still here. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes and I'm gonna be better. That's still standing in your truth, and that's still that's not false advertisement for this younger generation. I don't want anyone to think that, you know, you're looking at somebody and think they have it together. They don't have those hard days. It's okay to have those hard days. It's okay to show that, so the next generation knows, like, okay, she's here, but on the way, this is what she went through. You know, she was honest. So I know these days may come, but I know I need to still keep pushing forward.
Oh, I want to add to that as well. She made a really good point about putting people on a pedestal. Like, we do that so much, and I messed up every time I've done this in life. I've like went into this bad state of just like not knowing and, you know, walking on eggshells and stuff like that, and that's not me. But it just it's easy to fall into. It's easy to lose your confidence or feel like you got to fit inside of a box. But the second you put somebody else on a pedestal, you lose yourself, right? You can admire somebody, you can respect somebody. If you work for somebody, yes, you need to respect them. Yes, you need to do what they ask you to do. But as a human, we're all human. And the second we do that, and I feel like women, we do that a lot. And it is a balance. You really have to be emotionally intelligent and know kind of how to act and how not to act, to kind of not put others on a pedestal, but still have a humble spirit. I don't want to say be humble, but to have a humble spirit. But that just comes with being confident in yourself. That's big. Putting people on a pedestal that, nah.
Definitely. I definitely think too, the shift in social media I see of people like being more willing to be themselves, like teammates, like they don't want to be like, I feel like we went through this like beauty baller phase of like you had to be like really pretty and this and that, and you played basketball too, and that was just kind of like an added bonus. But now I feel like with social media and the way marketing is really highlighting players nowadays, like they can like be funny, like they can love the 4 for 4 from Wendy's, and I think that's just something that has been really cool to see. And I think it can continue like to really push the narrative with that. So those were like really awesome answers. And then the next question from somebody is, do you believe that you can have it all? I'm assuming it's like have everything you kind of like want in life, like family, all around stuff, and still be in this profession.
I'll start. I think you can have it all, but the hard part is figuring out exactly what is the all that you want. It's easy to think that having it all is having a bunch of money or having things that you see other people with, but what does it mean to have it all? Like, for me is, impact and freedom and basketball, you know what I'm saying? And if you follow those things, if you follow your rocks, then everything else is gonna come. The problem is we get off track with chasing things that we don't really care about. And now, you ever heard the story with the little phrase, chase 2 rabbits, catch none? So instead of us going after what we supposed to go after, and all the things that human want, the fame, the money, all that stuff, that will come when you do when you walk into who you are supposed to be, or when you're following your specific path. So I do think you can have it all, but you can't have it all by chasing it all. You can have it all by chasing what's for you, and then all is gonna come.
Yeah, I would just add on to that. Like, I think it takes evaluating how you measure worth. Like, do you view personal success as how you measure your worth? And like, if that's the only, and this is something I think college kids, worry about too. Like, am I getting all the good grades? Am I going to graduate? Am I going to have a job or play professionally or become a coach or get that GA position, whatever, after I, it's like that one track mind, need to keep, moving forward, pushing, hitting these goals. And it's like what we go through in our professional lives too. And it's like, but is that how you measure your worth? Like, is that it? And like, for me, I feel like I had like I don't know, I'm 23, a quarter life crisis kind of, where like, is that all that my life is going to be? Like what I do and like how far it takes me. And that's great and all, but like, if it's all about me, then I'm focusing on the wrong person in it. Like this should be, and this is what this is all about, right? Like there's tons of other people in this that are in the same boat, that are trying to get ahead, that are trying to be surrounded in a community and be around others. And so why not take that and use that, as part of your why? And just, that's what I believe in, at least. Not saying that's the right answer for everyone, but like what you're doing should be for others, and you keep showing up for yourself and you keep showing up for others, and you'll do all of your stories justice, both others and yourself. But I think that you can have it all. It's just based upon how you measure success and worth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of them. It really depends on, like Coach Floyd was saying, it really depends on what is that all that you're talking about. And if you really want it, you'll find a way. Keep working for it, whatever that is. And I think I'm a firm believer. If it's meant for you, it will be for you, and you can go get it. So I just think that it's possible. I'm someone who personally, I want a huge family. I still want to coach and be involved in collegiate athletics. Don't exactly know how that's going to work, but I just trust and believe that that it will. Like I want to go after the success that I have in coaching, but I also want to go after my personal success with the family as well. So if it's that sense that you're talking about, I think that's just something you kind of have to like I said, like balance and find that why between as that common denominator for you and keep pushing forward.
Great. Just kind of looking back from where you are now to where you started, what's been, a challenge that you've really had to overcome, just being a woman in sport?
I can kick it off. I think especially in media, it's evident it's gotten a lot better and obviously covered a lot of ground. I still think there's a ways to go, but it's skewed for sure. And especially women's basketball media coverage. Before the call started, we were talking about DePaul's Doug Bruno telling me that, and I asked him a question that was like not even super related to how he answered it. I was like, how have you seen the game grow? Because you've been involved since college women's basketball's early days, USA women's basketball. He like serves as like some sort of, I don't know, reference to the Chicago Sky, so ties to the WNBA. And I was like, how have you seen the game grow? And he was like, women's college basketball is behind the ball on media coverage, and talks about watching like Michael Jordan and the Bulls back when they had all these media members, and then when they were really bad and had no fans, but then they still had all these media members. And obviously even the media landscape has changed. But I think for me, it's just the fact that like it's a similar look, and that was however many years ago, is kind of scary. And so just making sure that these voices are heard, and that the stories, yes, like they exist in volume and quantity, but like upping the quality and making sure that it's connecting to other people so that they want to share it, they resonate with it, and they feel as though it matters too. Because once you show value in a story, in something, that's how things grow. Like look at the WNBA, for example. Like once you show that there's value in it or people care about it, it'll get bumped to ESPN for the draft and things like that. So obviously there can be a multitude of other factors, but I think for me, like I remember I was like a freshman at Marquette, and I was the only female in the whole media room after a Marquette men's basketball game, and there were like 40 people, and they were all white dudes, which nothing wrong with that. But I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I interned from the Milwaukee Brewers baseball club, and I was the only female in that office. And it was just little things where like I realized it, but I was like, I don't know how to change this yet. Like, and I don't know what to do about it. I kind of accepted it, and that's the first step, and like acknowledging, but just realizing that like speaking up about those things is like extremely important, and figuring out ways to help other women so that it doesn't have to be the outlook when they look around and they're sitting in a room, 10 years from now.
So for me, toughest challenge, wow, I'm kind of going to take the route of a personal tough challenge, and that's me in our conference. I want to make sure I'm stating this correctly before I state it. Pretty sure. Okay, I was the only African-American assistant coach in our conference. And it wasn't like a tough challenge per se. I had like necessarily hardship with it, but for me, it was just different, realizing that like I really am that only African-American female coach in our conference. And it was something that like it didn't resonate with me like my first year or so. And then it started resonating with me like, okay. And I realized like there's other African-American athletes in our conference as well. And I'm like trying to make sure that, I don't know, like I carry myself well, if that makes sense. Like I realized how big of an impact Coach Howard had on me. And so I know I didn't coach those kids, but I also wanted them to be like, oh, if they wanted them to see that figure, if they wanted to be a coach, like, okay, this is someone, I'm that person that they've come in contact with that looks like them, is doing what they want to do, aspire that way. So it's not that it was a tough challenge, but I realized like my role really is bigger than me, in the moment, because I realized I can be touching. I may not be directly communicating with these athletes or communicating with other coaches of that nature, but realizing that my voice, my presence really is a huge presence throughout my daily activities, whether I'm on campus with our girls, even when we're on the road in our conference and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily a tough challenge, but it's one of those things where personally I had to like stand in my truth and really be aware of who I'm coming in contact with, and maybe I can be a resource of helping them, or maybe being an inspiration to somebody, being like, okay, yeah, I can be in this position or something of that nature. So kind of hope that helps. I try to take it a different route that time.
That was good.
That you said that like even that it wasn't like a hardship for you. Like when I was sitting in those rooms and I was the only girl, I wasn't like, oh, this is the worst, this is so hard, because like you adapt and you figure it out, and it's not like, it's not a hardship, but at the same time, it's like, I can see why this is an issue
Yeah.
and why there needs to be something done about it. So I appreciate you mentioning that part.
I would say the biggest challenge is just the same challenges you will have in life. So staying true to yourself. When you listen to all the really successful coaches speak, they always talk about staying true to yourself, staying true to yourself, staying true to yourself. And we as humans, we complicate it. So I would say, a challenge with being in sport is just knowing that remembering that you was meant to be here. Like, there's a reason why you're here. Like, you don't have to try and do anything. You just need to be you, and be the best you that you can be. Like, I started playing AU basketball when I was 8, and I was full go in it since then. So I don't look around and be like, oh, there's men, there's women. Like, no, I'm just doing what I do. That's just how it's always been. I heard this quote today. It said, "Be yourself long enough, and you'll get paid to do so." So I think a challenge is we just go and we trying to do, and it's not about that. You are the reason why you have it. The reason why you're there is because you deserve it. I think that's one thing that women really have to embody and understand, because like men don't walk around like that. Men are super confident. Like I said, I was in charge of the practice team, and you would think they, were the players, and they ready. They got the most confidence in the world, and it's funny. Like I'm not mad at them for it. I think it's funny, and I'm just like, dang, like I just be laughing like, man, you got confidence for no reason. But a woman could have the same amount or a better skill and be struggling with the confidence. So it's all about just being you and just showing up, as yourself.
I also kind of want to add to that. Like, I think if you can stand in your truth and just be you, that makes the tough part go away for sure. Because like, my head coach, like I said, he's been here for 19 years, but our communication has been really well. So like I could step into our position and he already had that respect for me. But I feel like if I wasn't confident or some of the stuff that I was saying, then that would kind of like, that would have been a tough challenge. You know what I mean? But he was already open ears, open arms, like willing to hear what I had to say, but also, not saying he had to do it or had to agree with it, but at least he was open to hearing from it. But that also allowed me to learn too. But it took me being like confident in, whatever that may have been, whether little things, honestly, from booking the hotels to figuring out a practice, like just being confident with presenting stuff to him has, I think, helped kind of that barrier that most people kind of think of being like a male dominant sport and or male dominant, and me being a female with him. I think having that confidence and continuing to grow in confidence allowed that challenge to not surface as much as the other challenge definitely did for me.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah, that's That's a good word. Those are all good, really good pieces. I think something that we kind of want to be the theme of this as well with the women in sport aspect is just kind of asking our guests what their like points of pride are, and kind of what you guys at the end of the day, I think it's appropriate to say, like, how do you guys walk in your true selves, and what kind of, it doesn't need to be a short answer by any means, because I think it's everyone's story is super important, but kind of like your points of pride of at the end of the day, looking back on each day, how do you guys reflect of like, okay, like I think I'm doing what I want to do and I'm living in my true self, or kind of like, how do you tweak that and self-evaluate that, kind of like when you're putting your head on the pillow?
I would say, I can't say that every day when I leave the office or at the end of the day, I'm making sure I'm walking in my truth, or making sure I'm doing these things, because we get off path so easily. But I know when I do get off path, when I go back to it, I'm like, I'm here to serve. I'm on the support staff. So at the end of the day, my role is to support, and I feel like that's part of who I am. So am I supporting? Am I providing the service? Am I being a listening ear? Am I putting myself, not putting myself last, but in this moment, am I not worrying about myself and focusing on the person that that needs something from me? So service. Another thing would be relationships. Am I going out the way to build relationships? I said this, but being present with people. Am I building genuine relationships? Am I sticking to my values? Doing those things. Doing those things, when I think about it, that's how I know, I'm doing the right thing. And like I said, like I'd be all over the place. So, I can go, a week or so and just be moving. And then, through that time, I could be feeling like I'm doing a terrible job, feeling like I'm doing a bad job or a good job, whatever the case may be. And I have to schedule in time to come back to myself and to be like, okay, am I on the right track? I got a book recommendation for you. It's really good. It's called, I got it right here.
Is it your own book? She's writing a book, guys.
No,
also.
not yet. Not yet. It's coming. It's in process. So slowly but surely. But the one thing, right? So before I began interviewing for the job at Kentucky, right? So how our business, we can easily get caught up into moving up the ladder, doing things quick, getting a new job and stuff like that. So I wrote out what I wanted. Let me find the page. But this book right here is really good about just being clear. It's not about basketball. It is about productivity, purpose, habits, and just being clear on what you set out to do. So this thing right here, right? You probably can't read what it says, but the bottom one is purpose, right? So when you're moving and shaking, we move fast in this business. When you go back and you think about, what is my purpose? All right. You got the purpose, and then what stands on purpose is priority, right? Then what stands on that is productivity, and then profit, right? So a lot of times we get stuck in the productivity, right? But that's the third thing. The first thing is purpose, and that's knowing who you are and what you are here to do. All right. So a lot of times we just get worried about getting things done and moving real fast. And that's important. But when you got the purpose down, you know how to prioritize, and then you can be productive. And then if you got those three things, now you can, have a good career, and all the money, all that stuff, jobs, that stuff is gonna come if you got those things in line. But before I started interviewing for this Kentucky job, I wrote what I wanted. I wrote exactly what I wanted. And I had to ask myself, do I want to be an assistant coach right now, or I was 23 when I finished my graduate assistantship. So I was like, do I want to be an assistant coach right now, or do I want to be a 23-year-old assistant? See, those are two different things. Do I really want to be an assistant right now, or do I want to be a 23-year-old assistant, right? So that was me getting caught up in being a 23-year-old assistant. And once I had to sit down and actually, when I read this book and I really figured out what I wanted, I wrote down, I want to help coaches with social media, I want to help with recruiting, and I want to help build brands, and I want to be able to have time to kind of write my book and kind of figure myself out. So I wrote those things down. I was really clear. And the perfect job for me came open, and because I was clear on what I wanted. Remember, this job wasn't a thing before I got here. So it was like just being clear. So when you get off track, have it written down. Like, if you gotta write it down every day, what is your purpose? Like, what do you want to accomplish? You know, and that's how you can stay on track, because it's so easy to get off track. I'm talking all this stuff, I get off track all the time, every day. Every day, you know, I start out every day, I end up down to the ground every day. So it's definitely something that you have to work on and let it be a work in progress, and build a habit to stay true to yourself.
That's a tough act to follow, y'all.
Yeah, Lasasha, how about
Jenny, I'm not the coach anymore.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really tough one to follow, because I personally, I really do try to like evaluate days at the end of the day. I try to like debrief and just see like, okay, what did I do today that's, like Coach Boyd was saying, that aligned with my purpose? Because my purpose for me, it's bigger than me. My faith is huge. So I just want to make sure that what I did throughout the day like aligned with that. Whether that was making my coach look good, being there for a player, you know, scheduling a lunch with a couple players and not talk about basketball. I just want to talk about life. Just wanting to, did I accomplish things that I try to set out to? I don't get to do that every day, especially during season when we're traveling and we're going all over the place. The time just isn't there, which people are like, make time for it. It's just sometimes it gets away from me. And so I'll have, everybody knows Sundays are Sasha Self-Care Sundays, and they really are do not disturb phone. I'm usually at the back shore. I'm doing stuff that regathers me to make me be able to pour my purpose out. So, but I have to get filled up first. And that's that Sunday where I can get filled up, and I try to make that last throughout the week. It doesn't last all the time, but at least I know maybe if I need some more on Wednesday or Thursday, I just need a moment. Let me get back to it. But I really try at the end of the day to make sure that I was present for those who needed me, in whatever capacity that was, whether that's my coach needed me last minute for something, the AD needed me to go and mop up the floor, whatever it is. I just try to be present. And sometimes that means I'm stretching myself really thin, and that cup needs to be filled sooner than Thursday on like a Tuesday. But it brings me joy, because like Coach Boyd saying, I'm here to serve. I really do truly believe in that. And I think coaching is part of servanthood. And so I really think that at the end of the day, I try to make sure that I've done something to help somebody else, because I don't want to just selfishly go through the day worrying about myself. I want to try to help somebody else to get through their day.
So it's clear that I am not a coach, but that's not to say playing growing up, like coaches had such an impact on me. And it relates to this because like not every player that you coach is going to go on to be a coach either. But for me, like I had one of my friends' moms coached like one of my middle school basketball teams, and me and another girl, maybe it's a Midwest thing or a girl thing, I don't know, we would always say sorry. Like if we missed a layup, we'd be like, sorry. And that coach made us run and get on the line every time we said sorry. And like little things like that, I was like, ooh, like this is teaching me about, you know, how to be confident and that it's okay to make mistakes and you don't have to apologize. And then I think like fast forward to now, and like I'm interviewing Gino at UConn, and his like MO that sticks out to me is like, I was like, coach, like, you know, what's been a constant all these years? He's like, I can still look at a player and tell them what they want and like figure out how it is that I can help them get what they want. Like, he's like, I can read you, I can know what you want, and I can help you get there, and I'll convince you that too. And I'm like, okay, like that, like, but the people that are so confident in what they know and what they preach, just goes back to the being true to yourself, you know, living your truth, being present. And it just makes me think about, like, for me, my big thing is keep showing up. I just think, and it's this quote by Desi Linden, who's not involved in the basketball world, but she was a marathon runner, who won the 2018 Boston Marathon. And she said, some days it'll feel like you're trudging through hell. Other days it'll feel like you were born to do it. No matter what, you keep showing up, you see what you got, you give it the best that you can, and you see what happens. And I just think, like, and like I said, that's not just showing up for you, that's showing up for others. And yes, you'll have to dole it out in different ways, maybe a self-care Sunday, whatever it is. But I'm like, keep showing up is like the biggest thing. Like I had that on my bathroom mirror. I was like, even if I don't feel like it, like in quarantine, if I just ate like 10 handfuls of puppy chow, which I hope you guys know what that is, because someone the other day told me they didn't know what puppy chow was. It's like the Czech cereal with like chocolate and peanut butter and powdered sugar.
Yeah.
Maybe you call it like Muddy Buddies. I don't know. Yeah.
These toasters are weird. I had to deal with them for like a minute of my life, and just some of this stuff.
Puppy chow, but like don't feed it to a dog either. But nonetheless, if I have like 10 handfuls of that and I don't feel like doing anything, like I go back to, how are you going to keep showing up? Like, and I have a habit tracker journal where it's like basically a grid. And it's like, pray, brush my teeth, make my bed, write in my journal, write down 3 gratefuls, work out, call someone I love, little thing, Bible time, do a crossword. And like, no, I'm not going to do all of them every single day, but it keeps me on track of the good things that I think make me who I am and how I'm going to continue doing them and living them out so that I can be the best version of myself for everyone else. So the pride for me just comes from continually showing up. And I don't know, like I said, it goes back to how you measure worth and success. And like, for me, like, am I making the people around me better? Am I making my family proud? Am I able to make a difference in the space that I'm in and uplift other people? Those are kind of the boxes I look to check. And yes, God bless puppy chow, Nicole.
I think it's great too to just highlight, like, for our viewers, that each of these individuals had different things. They had books, they had just self-care and time, they had like making lists. I think that's something that is super important to know, that you're allowed to create your own type of self-care and figure out like what you truly need. I think that's something super important, because we can look at LeBron and be like, okay, we need to do this, 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 and this, and a million other things. But like, that might not be in our wheelhouse, and it might not be what you truly need. Back to the truly thing. But yeah, so I definitely just wanted to highlight that, because like, we are all different, but we are all in this industry fighting the good fight. So Ashton, take it away.
No, that's fantastic stuff. That's exactly what I would agree with. We're all going through like a collective traumatic experience right now with this quarantine, and we're all in the same storm, but we all have different boats, and we're all in different, just kind of dealing with it in our own way. So that's awesome. Just kind of like wrapping everything together, tying everything you guys said. What would you say to women who are trying to, advance in the sports industry? How should they equip themselves? Just some advice on how they can achieve their career goals in their own pathway.
I will start by saying that your path is your path. Don't try to look at somebody else's and be like, okay, I need to be a GA first. I need to try to write a book, but maybe I need to go work for NCAA, and then maybe I just need to check out the D3 route. Like, your path is literally for you. I think I didn't realize that when I first got started in the business. I thought, oh man, I need to start here and go there, but if I'm not there, then I need to go. And then it all came together. I think what we've kind of been talking about here is finding your truth and figuring out your purpose. And for me, I allowed my faith to just kind of like lead me to where I'm at right now. And it's realizing that putting in the work, and I don't know how else to say, but putting in that work, knowing you want to be somewhere and putting in the work to get there, but also realizing that you may take 4 steps to the right and 1 step forward before taking 2 steps back, but you're still in the right path getting there. You got to keep pushing forward. It really is. It's going to look different for everybody, but as long as you have those resources and make those genuine relationships with all, I think that's something that you can tailor towards whatever level that you go to. I tell recruits, I don't get to tell them as much anymore, but I used to tell recruits that, some people used to look down so much on D3 and they would get so upset. And at first I'd get so mad with all the words and people being so negative. And I'm like, but you don't even know who my friends are. So you're being like negative to me, and I have friends that are actually could possibly be recruiting you, but here you are, burning that bridge. So like, be mindful for what you say to people, how you act in front of people, and realize that like every day that you're around somebody or you come in contact with somebody, that's your resume. Some people may not ever get to see your paper resume, but they get to experience you and they get to come in contact with you and know that that may be all they need for a resume. So keep working on your brand, whether that's physically, mentally, social media wise. Work on your brand and know that your path is going to be totally different from somebody else. It's not going to look like somebody's who's already there. You may end up as that head coach, but you're definitely going to go different routes to get there than somebody else. But still stay the course and trust the process.
I'm not following that up. Are you?
It was really good.
Come on, Jenny. Girls in media, girls in marketing.
I know. I'm
I'm
supposed to,
the
but
only
like
girl
I gotta hear a couple more.
Yeah,
before.
I'm the only female on my marketing team right now. My boss was on maternity leave, and I was like, "Don't leave me, please." But
You going, Jenny? You was good for this.
Just like, okay, well, this relates to what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I'm giving you the lob, but like this is part of my like, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
I'll
what I
go.
tell people all the time is like, I love throwing lobs, and I throw lobs to people that I know can throw down. And like, I know that's a dunking analogy, but like, be the person that people want to set up and help. And how do you do that? Like, I look for people who lead with grace and poise, because those are the people that I'm going to trust will have like a slam dunk opportunity, like that you can automatically just know that they will do a great job, that whatever, you respect them, like respect, grace, gratitude, genuity. Like I'm huge on those things. And if you can see those in people right away, like you throw lobs to people that you know can throw down. Like I got a message from a girl the other day that was like, "Hey, can you put in a good word for me for this job?" And I had never met the girl. And I was like, this is an interesting tactic, and like no flack towards her, but I was just like, some people just don't know how the networking and all that stuff works. And I was just like, this girl's just asking me to help her for a job. I don't know her, and she just knows my title and where I work. And so it's kind of like one of those things where like I try to take a step back and I'm like, you want to like do a phone call and like, can I hear about what you want and like why this position and things like that, instead of being like, no, or like, I don't know, like, I don't know, just trying to like have a little bit of grace in that. But at the same time, like, I don't know, searching for those people that, like I said, will throw down and be the person that other people will throw down. I think that's the biggest thing about women in this industry is like, know what you're capable of, show that you can do it, have it be part of who you are. And then people will trust you with the ability to set you up for success down the line.
that was great.
That was.
I'm throwing the lob to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You're on this side of me, by the way. I don't know.
Now you was doing it the right way. So basically, like what she just said, you said be the person that people want to throw the lob to, or be the person that you throwing a lob, or which one did you say?
Yes, you want to throw lobs to people that will throw down, but you still want to be the person that can throw down.
Gotcha. So taking from what she said, like you have to find something. First thing, you have to find something to bring to the table. So if that's fine, developing your skill set, thinking ahead, saying, how can I help this staff, or how can I help this women's basketball as a whole? You have to find a niche, but I would just say just find a way to add value. So you want to interview for a job, you write in your cover letter, do research on the program and find out literally what can you bring to the table, so that you can, fill a role. And then, your story is already written. So one of them said, I can't remember who said it, somebody said, trust the process. So your story is already written. So we already know that. We know our story is already written. So now it's time to just do the work and put yourself in positions to be successful and to learn and to grow. I want to touch on getting in the room, right? So, this industry, this profession is all about connections and who you know and things like that. That plays a huge role, right? But that doesn't mean, go to every networking event that you can find and throw around your business card and, tell people you're gonna hit them up and never do. And, the fake networking stuff. But what does help is association. People associate you with other people or with a program or that, whatever the case may be, right? So when you see opportunity to be associated with somebody, take that opportunity, right? It's crazy how the human brain works, right? So whatever you have to do, if you got to spend money to go to a symposium, if you got to spend money to be a part of a program, to be a part of a community is huge. So get in that room so you can have those conversations. The conversations that you need to have are not the ones that are going to be easy to get around. It might take work. Like, for example, like I work with a Step Up symposium, and it's kind of like it's a volunteer side thing, but there's a lot of times I'm doing it full time. But the reason why I'm so willing, like, is ran by Felicia Hall Allen, and she's done a lot for me. But I'm so willing because there's no amount of work or there's no amount of stress or whatever the case may be, whatever I'm sacrificing that I can repay who I get to associate by being involved with that organization. Matter of fact, we're having a symposium, starts on Monday. Look at the speaker lineup. It's $25. Look at the speaker lineup. We got literally the best of the best, and I get to interact with those people. I get to serve those people. I get to be background doing the work, and that was a volunteer thing that I started doing when I was a junior in college. So getting in the room is important, and to get in the room, you have to bring something to the table. Some people get in the room by being related to people or just, having family members. Sometimes we don't have that, especially women. Like we really don't have that luxury of just, it's not as common to just, we just pulling people up. So you got to find a way to get in the room. Sometimes, if your younger sibling can, have the friends that you have because they was just at the house, and now you got friends, and now they know your little brother, or now they know you as their little sibling. But that's not the case in this profession. So you have to bring something to the table. You have to have a reason for them to want you around, even if it's like, well, let me take notes at the meeting. Or that was what I started off doing with the stuff. I took notes at the meeting. I stood by the door, waved and smiled. And what else did I do? Whatever the case may be. It could be as little, it could be small. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. The first task that I had to do when I was a GA was clean the microwave. And I cleaned the microwave as best as I could possibly clean the microwave. And I did it because it doesn't matter what it takes. It doesn't matter what's asked of you, right? The association is important. But like I've been saying throughout the whole thing, don't lose yourself in that association as well. Appreciate the association, appreciate the people, but don't lose yourself in that. Yeah, Adam saw me clean the microwave sometime. You see me in there.
Those were all fantastic responses. Just kind of like closing, I want to say thank you. Aisha, you talked about, bringing something to the table. All three of you bring something to the table for this industry and for women who are trying to get in this industry. And I just want to thank you for, taking time out of your day to really just explain your insight and share your story. This is the first episode of many, hopefully, for Aaron and I. We're trying to make this something weekly to really, really advocate for women in sport. And I think you guys really set a solid foundation. And I just want to say thank you again.
Well, thank both of you, Aaron and Ashton. Like storytelling, we just talked about it, is one of the best ways to get people's stories told, to be able to understand and connect, to be able to, have something be known that deserves to be told. And I just think that this is an incredible way to do it. Adam, shout out to you too, and just everyone involved. I just think you're doing the right thing, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, super, super thankful for the opportunity. And thank you guys for reaching out, because I'm sitting over here taking notes because I learned something tonight too. So not too proud, not ever too big or anything to learn from anyone. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you guys for getting this organized. Thank you for starting this up, and this is something that can keep going. I'm really excited to keep looking and keep learning every week, for sure.
Saying thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for reaching out and asking, us to be a part of it. Like she said, I took notes too. I'm here learning, like, I'm like, what she said? Oh, okay. Clarity, concise. Okay, got that. So yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you all for taking the time to come and, listen in on the panel. If anybody want to follow up with me in any way, I'll give you guys my email address. Is Aisha Foy, AISHA dot, no, just Aisha Foy, AISHA FOY @gmail.com. See, that's what happens when you have too many email addresses.
If you guys need anything too, feel free to reach out. Being in social media, social might be the best. My personal email is out on my social media too, but Jenny Lynn Fish, anything you guys may need, DMs are open, happy. And thank you to just everyone who tuned in too, because I mean, this is just a great community to have, and I will be tuning in next week. So.
Same.
Awesome. Yeah.
Actually, you can put my Twitter, or I can do it. I'm sorry, I see chat now. I'll put my information down below if anybody wants to reach out with any other questions. No problem.
Yeah, and if you guys too follow Rising Coaches, when we post stuff, we try to get their handles and stuff in. So make sure you guys definitely tune into that. But yeah, I just want to say to really wrap things up, thank you so much. We're excited. We're definitely not pros and not masters at this, but I think there's learning everywhere. I think we can learn from each other. You can be like what LaSasha said, you are always learning, you're never too big for it, and things like that. So same with us. We just want to make a platform to really do that, and to open conversations and to ask questions and get insight just into the crazy business, and to just be there for each other too. I think as women, but also as men as well, wanting to be an asset and be that person to help advance the narrative, which with women in sports. Wow, I almost made it the whole episode, but there we go. But yeah, so anything else?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much.